microfilm form at the Vineland Public Library, Rutgers University, and the Center for Jewish History. I relied on keyword searches once the Jewish Farmer and Times Journal were digitized and made available online by the National Library of Israel and newspapers.com, respectively. Prologue. Halfway between Philadelphia and oceanfront Atlantic City, a lesser-known city named Vineland sits adjacent to southern New Jersey's wooded pine barrens. In 1950, this community of 30,000 largely retained its rural, small-town character nearly a century after its founding. Farms and factories still mingled on its perfectly straight street grid. The descendants of Vineland's original Italian immigrant settlers worked in garment, glassmaking, and food processing plants, or grew vegetables and fruits on family-owned farms. Grain silos towering over all the other buildings in town hinted at how another branch of agriculture, poultry farming, had come to dominate the city's topography and the community's identity. Vineland High School even nicknamed its sports teams the Poultry Clan. Many of the local hatcheries and chicken feed mills were owned by Jewish businessmen who catered to the community's numerous Jewish farmers. Visitors might have noticed other signs of an outsized Jewish presence for a rural community Vineland's size. By 1950, Vineland had 3 synagogues and just as many Zionist groups, plus a half-hour-long local radio show every Sunday morning called The Voice of Israel. Here, kosher butchers and delis, which had disappeared from much of rural America, shared the main commercial district with mid-century mainstays like an F.W. Woolworth 5-and-dime store and a Pontiac car dealership. On weekends, you could smell the bagels, pumpernickel rye, and onion rolls for sale at Friedman's Bakery on Plum Street, half a block away. Southern New Jersey had long been a magnet for Jewish immigrants from Europe seeking a better life. Idealistic young Russians arrived first in the 1880s. They built collective farming colonies amid the nearby wilderness of scrub oak and stunted pines. In the late 1930s and early 1940s came some of the few escapees from Nazi Germany. These middle-aged lawyers and doctors were reduced to repurposing cotton feed bags as curtains, skirts, and bedspreads. Another group of refugees started to arrive in large numbers after World War II ended in 1945 as part of a broader settlement of Jewish displaced persons on American farms. Thousands of Jewish refugees who came to the United States in the first decade after the war wound up on farms at a time when most American Jews had begun moving from city to suburb. More displaced persons settled on farms in and around Vineland than anywhere else. These survivors of what later became known as the Holocaust found an unlikely refuge and gateway to new lives in America on local poultry farms. The new immigrants, mostly from Eastern Europe, were known as Grinne, a play on the Yiddish word for greenhorn. Rumors of easy money or the promise of a quieter, more independent life lured the sons and daughters of shopkeepers and entrepreneurs. The chickens didn't care if they spoke Yiddish, and the Jewish charities helping them didn't care that few had ever farmed before. Grinne here could take comfort in all the familiar Jewish cultural and religious institutions more typical in New York City while enjoying an idyllic rural life. Perhaps only in 1950s Vineland could a Jewish day school share the same stretch of rural road as a horse show. The survivors' children grew up on 10-acre farms rather than walk-up apartments, exploring neighborhood sand washes and streams rather than playing stickball in alleys. These refugee farmers are part of a larger, nearly century-long global story of Jewish agricultural settlement. From the late 19th century through the mid-20th, hundreds of thousands of Eastern European Jews settled on farms on 4 continents. A small but steady trickle of Jews had farmed in all 48 then-existing states and every conceivable branch of agriculture. But agriculture never captured the imagination of the average immigrant to the United States, and the era of Jewish farming is largely forgotten by their descendants. The story of the Grinnes, who proved to be the final mass wave of American Jewish agriculture, has particular relevance today as public opinion has again turned against admitting refugees. These farmers